Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Very warm welcome to you. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for tuning in. We had a few technical errors with the audio the last time that we went live. So if people could just let me know if you can hear me loud and clear, just let me know what the audio and visual quality is like today. And if all is well, we'll just get started. And before we do anything, just a sense of bringing ourselves into the here and now. Already, just a sense of the presence of being. Just a centering into the here and now. So, just on the technical things straight away, just we had some audio issues last time, so just bear with me if that does crackle a little bit or skip. I am in the process of trying to get that ironed out. If you hear coughing in the background, don't let it distract you from your meditation. Don't let it disturb you from the meditation. I'm looking after someone who's a bit poorly at the moment. So if we hear the occasional cough, just don't let it disturb you at all. It's just another object of experience that arises within the presence of awareness and then subsides again. So, the guided meditation will last between 20 and 30 minutes or so, or at least that's what I aim for. Occasionally, they go on a little bit longer than the 30 minutes. And then we'll move into the question and answer section, which will be an opportunity to ask any questions or share any experiences, any insights, anything that relates to your meditation or spiritual practice. So, beginning here, in any position or posture that supports your intention to remain alert and awake. And we don't have to be too strict with this. We can move and shift our posture if we need to, if we're feeling uncomfortable at any point. And becoming aware simply of what already is. Just a sense of accepting and allowing everything that is within this moment. If we find the mind is a little too busy, a little too noisy, if the mind has a lot of activity that you have woken up with this morning, a good method for centering oneself in the presence of being is to simply focus on the sensations of breathing. Do not force the breath in or force the breath out. Just a natural noticing of the breath rising and falling. And starting with the breath, See if it's possible to simply be aware of the sensation of breathing, but without placing a single opinion on the sensations of breathing. There is no good breathing or bad breathing. There is just breathing. Practicing the non judgmental awareness of the sensations of the breath in the body. Just allowing the breath to rise and fall, and simply being fully open and aware of the sensations of breathing. Open awareness through your senses to everything in the perceived external world. Anything that we can hear, anything that you can smell, the temperature on your skin, and even if your eyes are closed, just noticing what your vision picks up, even when eyes are closed. And see if it's possible to apply that same non judgmental awareness to everything that the senses pick up. And can this be held within the same space of awareness as the sensations of the breath rising and falling? Pure, simple awareness only. Releasing the mind from the burden of trying to analyze, trying to interpret, even trying to imagine. Upon hearing the sound of a bird, one might try to imagine the visual image of the bird. But just for this time now, placing no visual image on anything that the senses receive. No energy required for this. A letting go. Reality does not need the mind to be involved. You will notice that the world simply carries on, regardless of how much the mind is involved, regardless of whether we name and label everything our senses receive. Everything simply continues to flow. The outside and inside world has an automatic quality to it. And just as you don't beat your heart, you don't become actively involved in any of the bodily processes, see if it's possible to apply this same non involvement to all of the activity in the mind. A sense of neutrality, to even the thoughts that are usually troublesome and bother you. The moment that thought has arisen and you feel it may disturb you in some way, just notice that the thought is there, but apply no opinion to the thought. It's just a thought and has no inherent power to harm or disturb you in any way. Just the simple, peaceful space of being, uninvolved with any of the content of the mind, of the body, of the external world. Just allow everything to be as it is, simply not involved at all. In this more open space of observation, no longer applying the pressure to ourselves to analyze and interpret, simply continue to expand, expand, expand the conscious awareness, and notice that the awareness itself is perfectly at peace within the here and now. just as the sky is not disturbed by any weather that arises and dissolves within it, so too the empty space of awareness does not have to be disturbed by any of the content of the mind, by anything the senses receive. You can simply remain in this elevated space of conscious awareness of being. And going deep here, understanding this is not a dismissal or an invalidation of reality, but instead a recognition of the true nature of reality, a reaffirming of our true place within the activity of life. Once able to observe reality from this open, empty, peaceful position, we are freed from the limitations of the content of the mind and world. Allow yourself to experience all, but from the elevated position. A total and complete acceptance of now. This is the true victory. Do not try to predict the next moment. All you will ever have to do to truly deepen your spiritual practice is to fall deeper and deeper into this eternal now. No next moment. No previous moment. The deeper one is able to experience, accept, and allow the now, the freer you will be from the content of experience. Recognize reality already is. Whatever the content of experience is now has already been accepted by the universe. The moment you are aware of the content of experience, the content of experience is already manifest. So you have no further work to do here. The flowing, unfolding process of life is done for you. So allowing the activity of the mind to subside and fall away, and instead residing in the ever restful, eternally peaceful now. And really do this now. This is the time, this is the opportunity to fully deepen. The deeper you can fall into the empty space of being, the more powerful the practice will be. The body and mind begins to align with this new understanding, finally allowed to rest without continual straining for the next moment, without the constant striving to escape from the now. Release body and mind from this burden. Simply elevate, 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 up and over the content of all experience, even that which we ordinarily decide is negative, uncomfortable, or even painful. How amazing it would be to discover that even that can be observed from a peaceful, impartial place of true recognition. Can you feel the experience of being without any labels? For this time, there are no words. Even the words I am speaking now can sink into the background of awareness. Just experience the raw sensation of life as it is, without label, without description, without mental image, without analysis. Without trying to categorize and place experience into a box, just the simplicity of raw, total experience now. If you find the mind wanders from the present moment and falls back into its habitual thought stream activity, do not be frustrated. This is just the momentum of habit. Simply notice the mind has wandered and returned back to the peaceful, empty space of being. The more often this happens, the more we are retraining that mind habit. So noticing the mind has wandered is actually a good sign, a sign that you are becoming more aware, more present at the precise moment you have noticed the mind has wandered. You have returned to presence. And even noticing the frustration as it feels difficult to wrestle the mind back into presence. Even the frustration, even this process is observed. simply continually reaffirm you are aware of the mind. You are not the mind. Full, deep, and total acceptance of now. Allowing too the recognition that there may be things that you wish to change in your life. There is an acceptance that can be applied to that also. Accepting that something needs to change, but for this time now, simply accepting everything present within this eternal now. Fully here and deep within the presence of being. Extend awareness to the entirety of the external world. And see if it's possible to hold the awareness of the external world in the same space as your awareness of your internal world. Applying the same practice of non judgmental awareness. No labels, no words, just the experience itself. The external world as perceived through the senses, including the blank space of the external world, and the internal world of the mind and the sensations in the body. And deeply contemplating, where is the distinction drawn between external and internal? Did you draw this line yourself? Is it something you assumed? Or something that somebody else told you was a distinction, a separation? But as we are exploring the nature of experience now, revisit this assumption. Revisit this belief. Does the internal world stop at the skin? Or does it extend to the sphere of everything we perceive with our senses? Is this distinct line a solid line? Is it more soft and conceptual? Perhaps this distinction, this separation between external and internal, is just another thought. If we dismiss that thought, we dismiss that concept, all merges and all is well. Allowing the thoughts, feelings, emotions to continue. They are allowed to rise and fall, but notice that ordinarily focus of attention is drawn almost entirely to thoughts and feelings. So softening the focus on thoughts and feelings and return to the external and internal world merging. Those thoughts and feelings can arise here within this open, empty space, as there is no longer a separation between external and internal. Those thoughts and feelings are not constrained. They are not bound and captive within anything, because there is nothing there for them to be bound and captive within. So, breathing deeply and on the out breath, allowing these thoughts and feelings to expand, to allow them to evaporate out of the internal world. As there is no distinction or hard line between external and internal, even the most dense and the darkest, stickiest knots of our perceived mind has the space and freedom to begin expanding. Just allow, allow, allow. Nothing to hold on to as that cloud expands and evaporates out into the infinite expanse. A letting go. And as this space is infinitely and eternally present, You can repeat this process no matter what thoughts and feelings arise. At any moment, not just within meditation, but in daily life as well. Without a focal point for these dark emotions to coalesce and condense around, their energy cannot remain. They may stay a while, their residues, their effects. But by releasing yourself from being the lightning rod to which these thoughts and feelings attach, these thoughts and feelings are no longer a problem as such. They are just another experience arising in the infinite expanse of being. We'll begin bringing ourselves out of the formal aspect of the meditation. So you may wish to shift your posture, move around, stretch out a little. You may wish to reopen your eyes if they have been closed. But as always, as we begin to leave the formal aspect of the meditation, we can feel the mind is poised and ready to try and pull your attention back into the chaos, the turmoil of the mind identified state of being. So just being aware of that mind energy waiting to take control again, and practicing the discernment, practice the power of simply remaining in the space of being. We can even allow the knowledge that will probably be pulled back into thoughts and feelings at some point. This is natural. We're habitually conditioned to do this. But just a reaffirming the space of peace that you may have just attained is always present, always. We may feel that's too good to be true, or but I just can't get it. You may feel I'm not smart enough to get it, or I'm just too damaged to get it. This is all just another tactic of the mind. Through the felt experience of being, you have tasted that infinite, eternal peace. That experience is undeniable. And what changed in your life situation, your life circumstance between this moment and half an hour ago? The building you are in hasn't changed. The world hasn't changed much. The people in your life haven't changed. Your body hasn't changed. But something has shifted. Now, we didn't take anything. We didn't do anything particularly strenuous. We didn't really do anything at all. And yet a profound shift has taken place. But this shift has nothing to do with the circumstances. The only thing that changed was the position of your awareness. That is the only thing that changed. From being the subject of experience, which is to say, being subjected to experience, to being the observer of experience. A simple shift from participant to spectator. It's the only shift required for the full, total liberation. The full thing, all the way right to the end. This is what the sages discovered. The only difference between the sages and the enlightened beings and the seekers or the unconscious is that the sages and the enlightened beings can remain in the space of awareness regardless of any situation, anything. They have the ability to remain impartial. That is the peace of liberation. The mind is what says, yes, but what if this happens? Can I stay as the observer if this happens? What if this happens? What about this? And the mind will conjure up awful scenarios. It can be really quite nasty and will constantly bring terrible scenarios to mind. And so we wonder, would I be able to stay present in even that circumstance? But this is all conceptualizing, prediction, and anxiety. If instead you simply practice, well, I am the presence of awareness now, and that's all. That's it. Leave the what ifs. It's just not important. If we worry about the what ifs too much, we end up inadvertently manifesting those scenarios. So just leave the what ifs. If instead of what if, we practice the mantra, this too, the path of inclusion, everything the present moment contains, this too. And if we wish to explore the nature of unmanifest awareness, we can practice the path of exclusion and say, not that, meaning I am not that, in which we recognize anything that you are capable of observing is not you. The only thing that you can be sure of is that you are the observer of that thing. So the moment the object has arisen within the space of experience, including thoughts and feelings, as well as the external and internal world, we say, I am not that. That is the path of exclusion. We'll be opening up to question and answer here, a space in which you can share any queries, any experiences, any insights, or anything you have learned during your meditative practice, either this one that we did today, or just over your general meditative practice. So, opening out. And allow me a little sip of coffee. It's not the Sports Direct mug today. You'll probably notice I'm not in the same surroundings as usual. Not that there is such a thing as space. So we have we have bonjour, south of France, if I remember correctly. Bonjour is the limit of my French. Well, there isn't bonsoir is good evening, I believe. We had to learn a little bit of French in our middle school, but I never took it to GCSE because I was no good at it. So we have a hello from France. We have a hello from New Zealand. Great to have you. We have a hello from Thailand. Marvelous. One of those places I'd love to visit, although I say that about many, many places in the world, and it's not happened yet. I would love to go, though. We also have a hello from Italy. I don't know the hello in Italy. Someone will have to tell me. I have been to Italy, though. I once went on a rugby tour there when I was 16. Feel free to ask a question from Italy. Just bring it in. I really want to express my gratitude to you, Corinne. Your evaporating the pain video really helped. It is absolutely my pleasure. You're very, very welcome, as always. It's my pleasure to produce these videos and do these live streams. But I really appreciate that. Thank you. That evaporating the pain, I believe, is a crucial pointing for a lot of people who are a bit stuck on the path. And for people also, I would say for people who maybe are a bit stuck in either therapy or stuck in their healing journey, however that's manifest, because it's different for everyone. There's an infinite number of expressions of the journey. But I believe one of the most powerful practices that we should learn to do maybe once it's something, if we've been doing some healing or we've been taking a look at things, is to give ourselves some space from the cognition of it all, the mental noise, the images, the memories, those strong, powerful emotions as they are experienced by the mind, and instead experience them within the body in the present moment. The moment that memory, that tricky memory arises, we've all got them. Everyone has them. Everyone has a whole a whole ball of them. When they arise, instead of going towards the cognition, drop into the body, experience the awareness in the body, and just feel for where those negative past experiences are being stored within the body. And applying that loving, non judgmental awareness, breathing the space into that area, and just allowing that area to expand, expand, expand. Another question coming in. Corin, can you easily stay present in all circumstances? It's a hard one to answer. Yes, I can always stay present. And it's fairly easy to always stay present. It's not always easy to remain peaceful. That's slightly different. So the emotions can sometimes get the better of me. The thoughts and feelings can sometimes get the better of me, but no matter what happens, I am always present and aware of those things happening. But it is possible. With more practice, you will find that the more peace you bring to any circumstance, any scenario, any situation, it just goes like that. A large part of it, there's various different sort of learnings that happen along the way, different deeper understandings that happen along the way. And one of them is that you're always present anyway. That's quite a big one. We can forget because we always go into the mind, we always go into our feelings. So it's easy to forget that it's only ever the present moment. But a big recognition is simply no matter what happens, you are always present anyway. And you can reaffirm this by asking yourself the question, am I aware? So no matter what happens, rather than trying to fix the thought, trying to fix the feelings, or trying to fix the situation, the first thing to go to is, am I aware? And that the answer to that will always be yes, because you can't be having an experience you're not aware of. And if you're aware, you can then deepen that into, when am I aware? And that will be now, because it has to be. You can't be aware of a future or previous experience because there's no such thing. There is no before or after. So no matter what the situation or circumstance or whatever's going on in the mind, it's just the now. Am I aware? And when am I aware? It takes some practice, but ultimately it becomes a lot easier. I won't say it becomes easy. That's different. It certainly becomes very, very simple. And if you just practice this more and more often, you find it's your habitual response. No matter what happens, no matter what the scenario or situation is, you just snap into presence. And you find then, in some ways, that the entire world becomes your practice. The world becomes your guru. Because through the understanding that awareness is only ever now, and awareness itself is always at peace, and awareness itself is impartial, it really doesn't matter what arises. But a big one for me was just recognizing, well, you're only ever present anyway. It's just that we forget. But the equanimity, which means the sort of the neutrality to all things, that can take a bit more developing, depending on the individual, depending on the experiences you've had, depending on the current thoughts and feelings in the body mind, whatever experiences you've had in the past and previously. But the more you do it, the more situations and scenarios you manage to remain in that elevated position. Just the space of observing, the space of awareness. And it's from that position that you realize you're always at peace. Many of the greatest sages actually had very difficult circumstances and situations. And that was a sign of the depth of their understanding and a sign of their total peace. Their ability to remain present and just, despite having terrible health conditions or terrible things that have occurred for them, we look at some of the mystics and stuff, and they were imprisoned or worse, and they never lost their peace. At peace in all circumstances is definitely the key. But don't feel like we have to go all that way, like immediately. It can take some time to get there. And for me, it was just certain circumstances when I realized, oh, I'm at peace in this circumstance, where previously I knew that I would have been really struggling mentally and emotionally. But I just realized, oh, that's strange. I'm still acting, I'm still moving about in the world, I'm still doing my job, but I'm just not feeling that surge of anxiety and despair that I used to feel. And that was just a clue for me, because then I realized, well, if I can feel at peace even in that circumstance, I wonder what circumstances I could be at peace in. Okay. Oh, ciao is Italian for hello and goodbye, if I remember correctly. Sat in tears right now as you said, I am not that. As you said, I am not that. I was feeling very down on myself and my abilities of being good enough for any of my labels. I see. Yes, just keep practicing that. I am not that. I am not that. Anything you are able to observe, you are demonstrating to yourself, I am the observer of that, but I am not that. That's powerful in itself. It's called neti neti, the neti neti approach. Neti neti means not this, not that, not that, not that, not that, not that. It's a beautiful practice. I've gone days doing that before. It's really quite liberating. Not that, not that, not that. Super Lisa is in Blackpool. Oh, yes, yes, you mentioned. Oh, wow. Okay, I don't know how much to share out loud because I don't know how much you'd rather keep sort of anonymous. But essentially, we have a frequent member of the meditation here who's had a serious health concern. So glad you're out the other side of that now. That's amazing. Well done. Powerful. Could have been quite serious, but seems like you're out the other side of it. And she says here that she meditated through it, and that really helped. And so even a doctor said it was great to meditate through it. You see, so we have the backing of the medical profession on that. And meditation has been shown in so many medical studies to be so useful for not just the psychological stuff, but also the physical. It helps alleviate pain, stimulates the immune response. It does so much for us. Wow. Okay. Well, thank you for and even managing to check in and attend the meditation today, even whilst going through that. Wow, beautiful. Am I the only one who struggles to just observe the breath without taking control of breathing until I sometimes zone out? Yeah, it's classic. I mean, even just saying that, I bet everyone listening suddenly started to control their breathing. That's classic. The moment somebody mentions it, become aware of your breathing, you start to control your breathing. One of the fascinating things about the breath is that it's both voluntary and involuntary. It just depends on where our conscious attention is. And that's one of the reasons it's a very spiritual thing, is because it walks that fine line between being voluntary, conscious, voluntary, and involuntary. The moment we're not aware of it, it starts to just behave automatically. But when you start thinking about it, you start controlling it. That's part of the practice. It's seeing if you can be consciously aware of the breath rising and falling without trying to force the breathing and just practicing. Then you almost start to walk that line between the two. You start to walk that fine line, sort of kind of conscious of it, but kind of not. And that then it trains the consciousness in a way. It doesn't train it. That's a very clumsy way of saying that. But if if you can apply it to that, what I mean is applying it to that, you then start to apply it to other things as well. And it can even be applied to the mind activity. You weren't aware of it, and then you were aware of it, and then we can see if we can be aware of it without getting involved in it. And there's deep practice in that. Deep peace can be found through that. But that's not easy. That is not easy at all. Yeah, to observe the breath without taking control of the breath. I'm sure you're not the only one who struggles with that. That will be ubiquitous. This night had a strong emotion, and I tried to focus to observation, but the emotion were too strong, and I follow that. Okay. Yes. Okay. Sometimes emotions are so strong that they can become almost unbearable. That can happen. For me, there's a point where there's a sort of limit when if I'm meditating, I have a particularly strong emotion. More often than not, I can just immerse in the presence of being, observe, and it neutralizes the pain. And maybe I gain a deeper insight and understanding as to where that emotion rose from. Sometimes it's from nothing at all. Other times it might be from a deeper place. So very strong emotions can actually be a very powerful learning point for us. Very powerful. They're clues into our own past. They're clues into our own state. So when a very powerful, strong emotion comes up, the first thing you tried to go into the observation. So that's massive in itself. Imagine if you had never done any of this practice before, you weren't aware of these practices, you weren't aware of meditation, you weren't aware of introspection or spirituality. You would have just followed that emotion and it would have caused conflict or trouble or drama, or you'd have turned to something in order to just squash and remove that emotion. So the fact that you were able to at least attempt the observation is good. Then upon becoming aware something else is happening here, this is too powerful, this is too strong. For me, at a certain point, I will try and do something else to, at a certain point, if you're and you just try to sort of almost stoically just zen your way through it and just power through the emotion, that can actually sometimes be the wrong approach. The observation is not cutting it. So I might try, if I could, maybe go for a walk, maybe just go and do something for a short amount of time, still be aware the emotion is there, but just give myself a bit of breathing space and then come back to it. And you say this was during the night, so it's kind of tough. I know there's not much you can do during the night. It depends on the emotion. It depends on how severe and your situation and circumstance. But sometimes it's just about using that as part of the practice. And just it's that at that time I would use the approach of this too, because it's too strong an emotion to go not this, not that. It's too strong. And sometimes the more we say, no, I'm not this, the stronger it comes at us. So we alter the approach from the path of away, which is to get away from it. Say, not that, not that. Instead, turn towards it, go towards it. And I don't know if you've ever heard this one before, but it's about bringing it so close that it's neutralized. The emotion is neutralized. In the fairy tale, it's about when you kiss the toad, it becomes the prince. It's like that. We have to bring it so close that it neutralizes the pain. So if this strong emotion was a negative emotion, you're feeling pain from it, feeling uncomfortable from it. It's about the full total acceptance, which doesn't make it any more pleasant, doesn't make it any more comfortable, but it reduces the turmoil enough that you can at least bear it. A lot of this is easier said than done, I know. I've been in that space many times, particularly when going through that sort of deeper shadow work, shadow material, the darker stuff. Sometimes these emotions can feel utterly unbearable. But that's partly why I recommend the practice of drop into the body. Get away from the cognition of it all. The memories, the thoughts, the feelings, I should do this, I should do that, the planning, the worry, the interpretation, and instead feel the emotion within the body. And in the present moment, just assessing what's the actual emotion now. If I don't put a word on it, if I don't put an image on it, if I have no association with it, if I have no story to it, as if this is the first time you've ever felt it, ever. The first time you've ever felt this emotion, just drop into the body and feel it. Allow that emotion to come up. And just let it be. It takes some courage because these can be painful emotions that we've struggled with for a long time. Have some courage. Just bring it close. No description, no analysis, no mental image, and just allow it to be as it is. And what is simply is. But I never want to go down the path of dismissing emotion, because it's there for a reason. If emotion has risen, it's already been accepted by the universe. So there must be something there for a reason. And sometimes it can give us some clues into the past, or even some clues into the present about some things that we might wish to alter in our daily life. So it's not about dismissing them, but it can be about just finding a way to experience them and make them bearable. And in time, because that then becomes bearable, we lose our fear. We're not so worried about it anymore. And because we're not so worried about it and we're not avoiding it, it might come up even maybe a bit more often, but it's less severe each time, until it's just that old friend. It's just that old feeling again. You just say, oh, it's that feeling again. That's interesting. But it doesn't have to fill you with dread or horror anymore. It's just that old feeling. There it is again. Yes. Take very good care of yourself, Super Lisa. We'll all be sending our positive energy towards you, I'm sure. Yes. That's good that the nurse is calling daily as well. Make sure you're looked after and people are checking in. Bless you. Must be quite a shock. In time, this too shall pass. Controlling emotions is critical to succeed in day trading. Day trading, is that stock market? If that's right. I'm struggling with fear of success, bizarrely. Also fear of losing. Any advice to control these emotions in live market conditions? Ooh. Fear of success. That's an interesting one. Well, that environment is going to be a very highly charged environment. So you're going to be having a lot of strong emotions during that time. It's also going to be very, I imagine, seconds count sort of thing, minutes count. You have to make a lot of decisions very rapidly. And then tied up in that, you've got the sort of almost competitive element to everything. A lot of mind activity during something like day trading. I'm imagining, I haven't done it myself, so I don't know, but I imagine it's pretty intense. And our emotions often sort of resonate with, because there'll be a physical state that's associated with that high intensity. You'll be physically like buzzing. So there'll be an excitement. And interestingly enough, physiologically speaking, excitement and fear are exactly the same. If a scientist was just to monitor your blood and nervous system activity and even brain activity, excitement and fear are actually exactly the same. They wouldn't be able to tell the difference unless they knew what was stimulating the person to have that response. So understanding that you might be what you actually might be feeling is just excitement, and because it resonates on the same kind of frequency as fear, it's being interpreted as a fear response. If it's the fear of success or failure, probably has some attachment to something that's happened in the past, or something that happened whilst growing up, perhaps over a period of time. Maybe there was a lot of weight and emphasis placed upon success and failure. So it's going to make you nervous, or it's going to make you interpret the excitement as a fear of one of those two things happening. So my best advice would be, when you feel that fear of either the success or the failure rising, don't go to the mind. Don't try and fix it on the level of the mind. Instead, drop into the body, fully present, fully here, fully now. You will always have the breath available, even if there's seconds count decisions need to be made. You can still focus on the sensation of breathing. Bring yourself into the present moment, just here and now. That's all. Drop into the body and feel how the emotion is being manifested in the body. You might feel a trembliness of the hands. You might feel sweaty. You might feel your heart rate is speeding up, and you might feel as though you're breathing quicker. Just notice that physiological response. And you can always do this even in the midst of a lot of mind activity. Just notice the physiological response. And then through practice, just understanding, right, is this physiological response fear? Does it actually feel unpleasant? The actual physiological feeling itself, the feeling in the body, the sensation in the body, is actually neutral. It's a buzziness, but it's not a problem. It's just a buzziness. And through practicing that, you will find your mind settles. Your mind won't be so agitated, because your mind is no longer attached to that outcome. What is happening there is that you want to alleviate the feeling of fear by having the desired outcome of the decisions that you're making. Now, the mind is such that it's afraid now of both succeeding and losing, which is one heck of a catch-22 position you found yourself in there. That's between a rock and a hard place. So when the mind is desperate for relief from the feeling, it often just makes a rapid, hasty call. So don't seek relief from the fear through the mind by placing decisions. Instead, seek relief from the fear by experiencing the fear in the body as the physiological response that it is. And you will find the sensation is neutral. It's just a zzz, buzziness. And because it's just a buzziness, it's no longer fear. You are now free to practice true discernment and make the right decisions. That's my best advice on that. Everyone wishing Super Lisa love and healing. Yes, we all do. We all do. Extending out. And to do that, we can extend and expand our conscious awareness. Remove our personal stories and just wish all beings peace, happiness, and health. And in particular, any who may be suffering poor health at the moment. Emotions are our reminder that we are alive. Whatever they are, I am grateful for them, good or bad. But very powerful to be able to have that gratitude, even for the bad, negative, emotional charges. Oh, the pleasure is all mine. You are very welcome. I just wanted to go back. There was something I was going to address that I kind of had on the back burner and then I kind of forgot it. There it is. Okay, the feeling of my abilities of being good enough, and what that sort of relates to. It's quite a common one in life in general, but also especially on the spiritual path, I think, is one that a lot of people struggle with, perhaps without even knowing it. Is wondering if I'm good enough for this, or am I worthy of the enlightenment? Am I worthy of awakening? Am I worthy of peace? Am I good enough to do this? Maybe I'm not good enough. That not good enough feeling plagues a lot of people, and a lot of the time without even really realizing it. We have to allow ourselves a little grace, a little space, and a little courage to simply recognize that if you are here, you are good enough by virtue of the fact that you exist. The universe has already accepted you. Already. The fact you are here is proof that the universe has already accepted you, all facets of you, all behaviors, all thoughts, all feelings, all of it. It's all already been done for us. All we have to do, our only job really, is to recognize that. And all behaviors will align with that recognition in time. And eventually am I good enough, am I not good enough, the feelings of am I worthy or unworthy, they become so irrelevant. You just know it all is well. Just do the best you can with what you have. That's all anyone is doing anyway. Some people may have more resources. Some people may have more skills. Some people may have a situation where they can seemingly do more or whatever. That's their individual journey and process. But for all of us, all anyone can ever actually do is the best we can with what we have. And in the process of healing, and particularly in awakening, the the path is the goal. Just pursuing the process of healing, pursuing the path of awakening, that the goal's achieved. That's it. That's it. We'll get there or we won't get there. It doesn't actually matter. It's already being done for us. For me, when the real existential stuff started arising, I initially ran away and took it as a warning sign to back off. After reflection and study, it seems to be a good sign, and just sit with them. Yes. Very good. Very good. The existential kind of terror. I sometimes feel like with that's some of the deepest emotion. Perhaps it's the first emotion we ever really felt. Just that existential terror that's unmitigated by anything. It's not softened by anything. And I sometimes wonder if on the path, because we're so earnest and we're so keen to get to this awakening thing, it's almost like we want to shoot straight to the end and we just start opening doors all over the place. And at some point, we're going to open the door that has the existential dread in it, the existential terror. You open that door and it's like you slam that door shut again, like, nope, I'll come back to that later. And I wonder if it just takes a level of, it takes a level of depth of understanding, of peace and serenity, to have the courage to go and face that one. But the beautiful thing about the existential stuff is that it never goes any deeper than that. That's the end of the road. That's the bottom of the well. That's it. It doesn't go any further. So it is a good sign when it starts coming up, because it's a sign you're getting to. It's like if you were digging through coal, the harder the coal gets, the closer you're getting to the diamond. So the denser and harder the coal is, the closer you are to the diamond. And that's how it works in some of this emotional stuff as well. when the really, really powerful stuff comes up. For me, I can only speak to my own experiences, I suppose, but I often find that the deepest of the existential fear and terror rapidly gives way to the deepest feelings of peace and bliss. It quite rapidly alternates. What that's about, I don't know. Maybe it's that resonation thing. The thing about, the excitement in the body can be interpreted as excitement, positive, or fear, negative. It might be the same thing. Existential terror is actually just total liberation and bliss, but seen from a different perspective. Because what could be scarier to the mind than peace? Why? Why would peace be scary to the mind? Well, think of what the mind's job is. Think of why we hired the mind in the first place. What's the point of this thing called the mind? Primarily, it's a problem solver. And what happens when somebody is completely and totally at peace, truly at peace? Not just peace as in sat on the sofa watching Netflix, not peace as in sat on a beach somewhere in Hawaii sipping on a pina colada, not that sort of peace. True soul peace, to come home to the soul, to reside deeply within the soul, the ground of being. That peace, existential peace. If somebody is in that state permanently, what happens to the mind, considering the mind is a problem solver? To someone who is fully at peace, there are no further problems. Therefore, the mind has lost its job. It's now redundant. So perhaps this existential terror that we feel is actually just the mind misinterpreting peace. It senses its own demise. And if we have wrongly identified ourselves with mind activity, naturally, if we're stuck in mind activity, we will feel terror at the prospect of being fully at peace. So, yes, I would say it is a good sign, and don't run from it. Anything we run from, we reaffirm that it's scary. It's like running from a loud roar behind you, and you don't even turn around to see what it is. You just run. But if you'd have turned and faced it instead of running, you will see that it's just a chihuahua barking into a megaphone. Oh, it wasn't scary after all. Again, a lot of this is easier said than done, because when you're in the grip of it, it is no joke. It's easy for me to say here now when everything's, it's nice, comfortable now. I'm in a fairly stable place. I'm in a nice, it's everything's good right now. So it's easy for me to say it now. I never want to come across like I'm making it sound easy, because it's not. Simple, yes. Easy, that's another story. The existential terror is one of those. Whew. I mean, for me, yeah, it was deeply unpleasant, but I also thought, yeah, this must be a sign I'm onto something, because these are not usual feelings. So there must be something to all this, the spirituality thing, to the Advaita, to the meditation, to the spiritual path, if it's evoking such powerful emotions, such powerful sensations. There must be something to it. If this meditation thing we did was just a little self-hypnosis that we do and a little self-help thing, but we're just all imagining it all really, and it's all just a trick of the mind, it wouldn't provoke such profound feelings. And profound is the right word. There's no ignoring that. And there's a uniqueness to it. There's a curious quality to existential fear. There's a profundity to it, a significance to it. Auspicious, that's the word I'm looking for. It feels auspicious. It's very life-affirming, ironically. It's proof that you're here. Those who will not slip beneath the still surface on the well of grief will never know the source from which we drink, the secret water, cold and clear, nor find in the darkness glimmering the small round coins thrown by those who wished for something else. It's a poem called The Well of Grief by David White. For me, that somehow was a motivating poem for when I was going through some of the existential terror, because it felt like grief. But it's that line about the secret water, cold and clear, the clarity, the clearness. That's why poetry is so powerful. It expresses something that I could never describe. Just lovely comments coming in as always. For each other, I mean, as well. I feel everything is a lesson. We just label them as good or bad, speaking on the emotions. You are always enough. You are pure loving awareness. Yes. Yes. Pure loving awareness. It's all any of us are. I feel they're two sides of the same coin and seem related to alchemy and transforming subconscious material into gold. The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. Yes. Yes. That is the meaning of alchemy. That part of alchemy about the philosopher's stone turning lead into gold. It is about transmuting the pain of the past. It's about transmuting the negativity. Everything that you've been through can be worked through. And there are lessons in the pain. There are lessons in the darkness. It has to be, by definition, that some of these experiences have to be painful. Oh, sorry. It's ironic. I can't remember who said it, but it was be thankful for the pain, for one day it will be useful for you. And another good one was you have only two options: learn from your mistakes or repeat them. That always instilled a bit of existential terror in me. But yes, as it relates to alchemy, it's that the transmutation of lead into gold. And I think that's an important one, because we shouldn't dismiss, avoid, deny, or invalidate the painful emotions that we've either been through or we currently go through. Because you, you can't actually get rid of them. You can't burn them away. They will just come back stronger. At some point, you have to face them. The Latin phrase "insta kilnus invenitur," meaning you will find it in the filth. It literally translated, it means you will find it in the cesspit. And that is like, but naturally, obviously, that's the last place we want to go. So for so many years, we avoided it. We went all the way around the houses. The prodigal son went off out into the world. No, not facing any of that. Out into the world. And it's only after repeated pain, the repeated disappointments of life, the repeated setbacks, the repeated failures, the repeated knocks, the repeated pain. It's only after noticing that this cycle is just repeating. It's the same thing over and over again. It's only upon that recognition that we turn around and go, right, maybe if I just go back to the start and face that thing that I initially ran away from. Because the pain of the past and the current pain only comes back stronger if we try to avoid it. But that leaves us in a bit of a pickle because we don't want to just, it's not about dwelling on it. It's about practicing some wisdom, some intuition, and some insight into what's actually going on here. What caused this? Am I causing this? Is something I'm doing causing this? What's actually happening here? And it's through that depth of insight, intuition, and understanding, that's where the transmutation starts to happen. Now, not only do we transmute it into gold, we also we get rid of the lead. The lead disappears, and the lead here meaning the heaviness, the weight of the pain. We get rid of the lead, but we're not only destroying the lead, we're actually turning it into something valuable, something useful. This has been very true in my experiences as well. Every mistake I ever made, I'll use my fitness transformation as an example here. I made so many mistakes along the way, but I only ever made a mistake on the fitness journey once. When you try something, you realize that doesn't work. You try a specific kind of diet, doesn't work. Try something else, doesn't work. Eventually you just try doing it the right way, and hey presto, it works. Trial and error. But you only make those mistakes once, and eventually you just end up with gold. You just end up with a lifestyle that works for you and moves you towards your goal. Lead into gold. And then if we're going to deepen the transmutation, which is what I chose to do, I suppose, was that through going through those mistakes myself and learning from them, and then in my career as a personal trainer and a gym instructor, all of those lessons, not only were useful to me, now I can see somebody else going through the same kind of process that I was going through. I can talk to them and say, hey, I've been through that. I had that experience. Here's the solution. Now there's value in that. There's value in that. That might save somebody years of trial and error if they're willing to listen. It's not always the case, let me tell you. But if someone's willing to listen, those years and years of trial and error can be summed up in a single sentence and communicated, and there's so much value in that. Just as it takes thousands and thousands and thousands of tons of coal to produce a centimeter wide diamond. It could take decades of trial and error to produce a single nugget of wisdom. So have no fear to work through your deeper, darker material. For one one reason, you're going to have to sooner or later. You might as well do it now. And the sooner you do, the sooner you get to the gold. But I can't say it's pleasant, and I can't say it's all sunshine and rainbows. There are times that it is. There are times I've had the sunshine and rainbows feeling. That's the bit you get to, the peace, the satisfaction. Finally faced it. Finally faced the thing I was running from. What a relief. And just as a note there, I think you've got it. Remember what could go wrong there. You've got it. You've got it. Have your intuition, your insight, you're on the right path. Go all in. You know exactly what to do. You've got it. You've got the insight, you've got the intuition. All that remains now is just dive. Dive feet first. I managed to beat the alcohol demon. It's another member asking here. Another subscriber, sorry. I managed to beat the alcohol demon and the weed, but man's cigarettes are winning and have been for too long. Any advice on quitting smoking? I know you beat alcohol, but not sure if you smoked. I didn't smoke, never. So that's something I haven't suffered with. Best advice on that. I only ever really like to give solid advice when I've had experience with it, because otherwise, how do I know? I can't be 100% sure. However, I will say all addictions operate on exactly the same principle, whether it's a substance or whether it's a activity. There's so much. It could be a behavior, could be a substance, could be anything. And it's all stemming from the same place. So I would recommend reading the book Rational Recovery by Jack Trimpey. He just explains it. It's all in one book and it just explains it perfectly. I read it once and went, got it. And that was that. I have been told by a few people that smoking is a particularly insidious one to try and beat, to try and overcome. So I my sympathy for that. Partly because it's the same with when people are addicted to certain activities and certain social things, maybe like binge eating or, certain other unwholesome activities. I won't mention any here, but I'm sure you can use your imagination. When people are addicted to things like that, what can make that a bit more difficult to overcome is the fact that there's far fewer consequences for partaking in it. Like for me with alcohol, it got to a point where these binges were so extreme, so destructive, and so catastrophic. There's no hiding it, and that I couldn't function. But I imagine when it comes to something like smoking, you could quit for, say, 2 or 3 weeks, and then you go back to it, and nobody would barely even notice. You would barely even notice. You just have this background thing of, oh no, I'm stuck on this again. Because it's like, it's not quite as, it's a slower poison, it's a slower thing. It's more So my sympathy for that particular kind of addiction, because I imagine there's far less social consequences for doing it. However, understand the mechanism by which the addictive voice works. That is how you will overcome any addiction. Because you just have to notice the subtle areas of your thinking that is actually the addictive voice and not your higher reasoning, because it masquerades as higher reasoning. And that's the part where a lot of people fall down on. Some of the addictive voice is so overt and obvious. It's so easy to recognize. It's almost laughable. Laughable. It's just the addictive voice will show, oh yeah, just have a cigarette. That'll be really nice. That'll be really nice. It's so obvious. It's laughable. But there are elements of the addictive voice that masquerade and pretend to be higher reasoning, and will say, oh well, you're going to go back to it at some point. You might as well do it now. Or oh, you've gone 3 months without smoking now, so now you're able to handle it. When you go back to it now, it won't be such a big habit anymore because you've had a break. Where's it getting that from? Nothing backs that up. It's just the addiction. That's it. It just all it wants is you to go back to smoking. Or it'll say, do this as a New Year's resolution. We can't do it this year. We're too stressed. You're too stressed this year. We'll do it after Christmas. We'll do it in January. Just start to recognize the areas that your addictive voice has begun to masquerade as higher reasoning. And reaffirm your plan. Like, what's your plan regarding smoking? What's the plan? Do you plan to stop or do you plan to carry on? Simple question. Ask yourself that often and be honest with yourself. What's the plan? But I'm afraid my knowledge with that particular with smoking is if you've managed to, it sounds to me like from reading some of this here, it sounds like you've beaten alcohol. If you can beat that, you can beat smoking. You know the drill. You know the drill. Beautiful. Okay. I think we'll begin to wrap things up a little bit there, as I can see we're coming up to 2 hours again. Um, so any final questions, queries, insights, anything anybody wants to share, please feel free to send it on in, and we'll begin to start wrapping things up there and start thinking about how we can move into the rest of our day from that place of total serenity and presence, and notice how much we have probably become mixed up in the thought stream and the activity of the mind. Remember to stay in that elevated position at all times. Sometimes if we find ourselves stuck and lost in that thought stream, we can trace it back and pinpoint the moment that we started to get stuck. We started to get caught up once again in those powerful thoughts and feelings. Just practice throughout the day. There's no rush. Our general culture is so hurried and rushing, so frantic. But just continually reaffirm to yourself there is no hurry, because there is no such thing as time. I'll probably start putting on more live streams at some point, but at the moment it's just the 2 a week. I have this one on a Sunday morning at 9 a.m. GMT +1, and I have the one on a Wednesday now, the midweek one at 12 p.m. GMT +1 here. I believe it's about 7 a.m. over in America. So that's the two that I have. New videos dropping this week. I have a new Spiritual Bleach episode that is dropping tomorrow morning. Keep an eye out for that one. I know the Spiritual Bleach series is quite quite popular. So we'll see how that one goes tomorrow. On the subject of our belief about whether we are a body. Do you have a body? Do you inhabit a body? So that's what that one's on. That drops tomorrow. I think that's probably about everything. As always, don't forget to hit like and subscribe on the way out. And just a plug, you should be able to see down here somewhere the join button. I have memberships available if you want to become a supporter of the channel for a very small monthly subscription fee. Gain access to my premium guided meditations and talks that I upload without monetization. So there should be no adverts on any of those meditations or videos. But I'll still be uploading all my usual content to my channel anyway. It's just the join as a channel member is just, if you just want to support me and my work as well. It's my dream really to be able to start expanding this into more of a more and more time, hopefully becoming more full-time, and then I can upgrade my equipment, put more time, energy, effort into this until I'm just doing this as my full-time gig. So sorry for the plug, but I kind of have to do it. That's everything, I think, today, team. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for the amazing questions. As always, these questions are so insightful and so powerful, and it's so amazing to see so many people with similar stories to tell on a similar journey, on this path, this journey of healing, awakening, recovering, whatever we want to call it. And it's so powerful to see that there are people out there who are going through very similar experiences, and great to see everyone supporting each other as well in the chat. It's really quite amazing. And I'm sure everyone will be wishing Super Lisa a very, very speedy recovery. So glad that you're on the mend, and you're back with us. And yes, please take care of yourself, look after yourself, and let us know if we can do anything from the spiritual side of things. You just let me know, okay? Beautiful. When you heal yourself, you are removing a huge chunk of the darkness out of the common stock of human consciousness. So my gratitude to you as well for doing this hard work, doing this healing work. And so it's a big thank you from me to you as well. That's everything for today. Please have a wonderful day, a very peaceful day, a very energized day, a very healthy day, and try and enjoy a little as well. This is very heavy stuff we go through here. So try and enjoy a little and feel a little more at peace. And when those nasty, pesky emotions rise up, let's remain in that elevated position of observation and recognize the universe already is. Reality already is. It's already been accepted. It's already done for you. Thank you so much. Take care, be well, and stay present.